So the Steelers are now 6-2, and in my opinion, they're the most complete team in the AFC North up to this point, and I do believe that they can win this division. Let's talk about the positives and the negatives for the future. For one, I want to get into the positives. Russell Wilson has come in, and he looks like how he looked with the Seattle Seahawks. I don't understand why a lot of people are confused and why a lot of people are shocked by this. Russell Wilson was a good quarterback last season for the Denver Broncos. 26 passing touchdowns to 8 interceptions. Those are not bad numbers. And I said this, he can find true redemption with the Steelers, with the weapons that they have and lack thereof at the wide receiving position. Russell Wilson can still go out there, throw the football deep down the field, and he gives the wide receivers a chance. This offense, even though it has only been 2 games, it looks a step up than what it was with Justin Fields. And it's not me to come on here and to say Justin Fields is terrible. He doesn't deserve a starting spot in the NFL. He played solid, especially when he was not fumbling and throwing interceptions. But the thing is with Russell Wilson, you're seeing more productivity out of the wide receivers and out of the tight ends as well. Out of Darnell Washington, out of Big Pat at the tight end spot, out of George Pickens, Van Jefferson, and Calvin Austin III. Is it still pretty? No, but it's effective. And that's all that you care about. You don't have to have George Pickens go out there and have 140 receiving yards in the game and 2 receiving touchdowns every single week. That's not how you're going to win football games. The Steelers want to run the football, work off of play action, and then give key guys in the lineup the football in certain situations. And that is what they have done the last 2 games. Russell Wilson did start off slow against the New York Jets, yes, but as the game progressed, he looked better. And I do believe coming off this bye week, because they have a bye week right now, Russell Wilson will look better. This is a man that missed a good portion of training camp, recovering from that calf injury. The man missed majority of this season recovering from his calf injury. And against a top passing defense of the New York Jets, he went out there and he carved them up. He looked very good. Obviously, the New York Jets cannot stop the run. That's not in the Steelers. They took advantage of that. In the past, we will see the Steelers play down the competition. If they had Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky at the quarterback position, they would have lost against the New York Giants on Monday night. But instead, they went out there and they took care of business. And you can say that game was too close. Well, at the same time, they had a lot of red zone missed opportunities. And we have seen this in the past. The red zone offense does need to get better. I will agree with that. And hopefully they make a move to bring in another wide receiver, because even though Van Jefferson has played better, even though Calvin Austin III is starting to fit that number 2 role, if they can bring in a guy like Mike Williams, I think they'll boost their offense just a little bit more, because you still see teams go out there and they double cover George Pickens, even in the red zone area. But this is the thing. You can now not just go out there and stack the box. Russell Wilson does not have the speed that he used to have with the Seattle Seahawks, and that's fine. But he can still be that elite passer at times, especially with throwing the football deep down the field in one-on-one situations with Van Jefferson and with George Pickens as well, and with Calvin Austin III. Just his presence alone has opened up the run game to the next level with Najee Harris. Yes, Najee Harris had over 100 rushing yards against the Las Vegas Raiders. No offense to Raider fans. The Raiders have one of the worst teams in the NFL. And the New York Jets, they can't stop the run. But that's a pretty impressive defense that the New York Giants have. And I'm not trying to hype them up. Dexter Lawrence leads the league in sacks as I record this video. No, they did not have their second pass rusher and Brian Burns, but you still had a very good pass rusher in B.J. Ojulari as well. That defense has played very well. Just because the Steelers went out there and they're defeating these teams does not mean that these teams are no good. Because I could say the same things about the Baltimore Ravens and about the Cincinnati Bengals as well. You can't help who you play. If they were to go out there and lose against these teams, it will be a different notion. But the Steelers have played well. It's opened up that run game. Najee Harris has not looked this good since college. You could say his rookie season over 1,000 yards rushing. Every single season he's had over 1,000 yards rushing. But this Najee Harris looks different in the last 3 games. And they're going to need him to look like this. Because in order for him to make the NFL playoffs and to make a deep playoff run, they're going to have to run this offense through him at times, and the same with Jaylen Warren. And we also have to take this into account as well. When Jaylen Warren started to come back and he started to just look a little bit better, he hasn't been the same running back from last season because he's been dealing with a knee injury and a hamstring injury, but it takes the load off of Najee Harris just a little bit. So adding him in that backfield has helped out as well. Cordell Patterson has missed a lot of times since the Indianapolis Colts game, dealing with an ankle injury. Hopefully he can come back into the thick of things. And it's not because he's going to go out there and have over 90 yards rushing every single week. No, but it's another chess piece you can have. He can play wide receiver inside the slot. He can come out the backfield. It's another weapon for this offense as well. And you can use him on motion patterns. I would like to see them bring in another wide receiver, but George Pickens has played very well. This is a George Pickens that you saw at Georgia. This is a George Pickens that you saw. When you give him the football, he can go out there, can take the top out the defense. He could be a major game changer. And it's going to be hell defending him, because when I look at the Baltimore Ravens defense, they're having a tough time stopping wide receivers right now. Their rushing defense is very good. We're having a tough time stopping wide receivers. The Cincinnati Bengals, their defense is easily the worst defense in this division. And I look at the Cleveland Browns, that's a very interesting team, especially with Jameis Winston now at the helm, but I believe that the pass rush can get to them. When you talk about just being a complete team from top to bottom, the Steelers right now, they are that team in this division. And you look at this offensive line, they're not fully healthy. And the offensive line, they're starting to get things together as well. This is an offensive line. They're missing their starting right tackle in Big Troy Fautanu, who they drafted in the first round. Those first couple of games, he looked like a superstar. He goes down with a dislocated knee. He's out for the rest of the season. Big James Daniels at the right guard position tears his Achilles against the Indianapolis Colts. He's out for the rest of the season. So now you put Broderick Jones at the right tackle position. Mason McCormick, the big rookie, at the right guard position. Zach Frazier has been phenomenal at that center position. He's missed the last couple of games. You put Ryan in at the center position. He's looked solid. They've had tough times guarding certain defensive tackles, but I believe given the circumstances, he's looked solid at the inside interior offensive lineman spot. Zach Frazier will be back this season. Then you have Nate Herbig as well, who's missed pretty much all of this season, dealing with a shoulder injury. You have Isaac at the left guard position. He started the season. He was hurt as well, dealing with the pectoral injury. He's starting to look better every single week. Dan Moore Jr. at the left tackle position. Not the best left tackle to have, but he's been serviceable this season. They're still figuring things out. This has been a very inconsistent offensive line due to the injuries. Give them credit there. Give the offensive line coach a lot of credit and give Arthur Smith credit as well. That's one thing that a lot of people aren't talking about enough either. The different plug and play pieces. And remember, this NFL draft, this cycle that we just moved off of, majority of their picks were spent on offensive linemen for this exact reason. So to see Russell Wilson go out there and have the success that he's having right now, I'm happy to see it, because I'm the same guy that was hitting the table. Bring in Russell Wilson, let him start. Let's see what Russell Wilson has, especially with how his season ended with the Denver Broncos last year. The man was not a terrible quarterback. He was still averaging good numbers. And that's with a bad Denver Broncos offense, with Jerry Jeudy, who could not catch the football, and only one number one wide receiver in Cortland Sutton. At times had problems separating, but he went out there and he looked very good. Russell Wilson, statistically and film-wise, has only had one bad season, and that was his first season with the Denver Broncos. He was being coached by Nathaniel Hackett. When I bring up that name, everyone should just say, you know what, that player still has some talent here, because Nathaniel Hackett is one of the worst offensive minds the NFL has ever seen. And he was also tied being the most sacked quarterback in the NFL with Justin Fields. Are there times where he holds onto the football for too long? Yes. Are there times where he may fumble the football out of nowhere? Yes. Look at what happened against the New York Giants. Is he the same Russell Wilson outside the pocket that he once was with the Seattle Seahawks? No. But he has that arm. He has that mobility to get outside the pocket and evade certain rushers and still throw in a run. He is still regarded as an elite passer in the NFL. And this is exactly what the Steelers needed. This is a team that went 5-1 in this division last season with Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph. And I understand year to year the NFL changes, because at that time you still had Deontay Johnson, who is now with the Ravens, and you had George Pickens. I would like to see them trade for a number 2 wide receiver, but if they don't, hopefully Calvin Austin III can get into that role as well, because I don't believe that Roman Wilson will play at all this season. Missed majority of training camp, dealing with an ankle injury. Now he's dealing with a hamstring injury. It's whatever in that situation. But to see these wide receivers step up and get more productivity out of them, that's a good thing. When I look at this defense is very good, but it's predicated on pressure and stopping the run. They have the 4th best rushing defense in the NFL. They have Alex Highsmith, a very good pass rusher, who has also missed time this season dealing with a groin injury. But when he's been on the field, he's been a superstar. TJ Watt, You guys know how I feel about him. This man should have won Defensive Player of the Year last season. He's a top pass rusher in the NFL still. Right now, among active pass rushers and edge rushers, he's the best edge rusher in the NFL, in my opinion. I love his game. But this defense has major problems. Let's not act like they don't. This is the negatives that I want to talk about. Their secondary. Their secondary is up and down, but they have given up a lot of big plays. They're 21st in passing defense. When I hear national media go out there and they say Joey Porter Jr. is playing well, he's their true number one corner, and he is their true number one corner, but to say that he's been lights out, that's not the case. He's had some good moments. He's a young player. Hopefully over the next couple of years, he can be regarded as a top cornerback in the NFL. Right now, he's not that. And I've seen it, guys. He has a lot of times on film, he's holding, the referees just don't see it, or he's getting beat deep by a guy like Quentin Johnston when they went against the Los Angeles Chargers. Or he's getting beat deep by Malik Neighbors, and Daniel Jones just can't get the football there. There is a lot of redeemable things to his game, yes. And I do feel for him because he gets the toughest assignment every single week. He's going to be guarding Jamar Chase. He's going to be guarding A.J. Brown. He's going to be guarding DeAndre Hopkins in the future. He's going to be guarding those guys. He's not ready to do that on a consistent basis just yet. But as long as T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith can go back there and sack the opposing quarterback and put pressure on them, that's where you see Joey Porter Jr. at his best. He has to play better after this bye week and stop getting all those penalties. He had a lot of penalties when he was a rookie as well. And this is one thing about Joey Porter Jr. Back him up a little bit. Get him off 2 to 3 yards. At least they have him right on top of the wide receiver. And I understand that's what he did at college. But when they back him up 4 to 5 yards, that's when he plays at his best because he has those long arms. He can go out there and he can bat the football down. But I do worry about him and Dante Jackson in the secondary. Benny Bishop has been very good over the last couple of weeks. And it's not just because of the interceptions. He sticks to his assignment. He's a very good player in that secondary. Cornerback wise, he's been their most consistent player over the last couple of weeks. And Joey Porter Jr., it's not me saying that he's garbage, by the way, because he is a solid cornerback. He's just not a true number one, in my opinion. He will go out there for a couple plays and he'll play very good defense. But on a down-to-down basis, I do worry about him. And big plays are going to be given up. It's the NFL. You look at how talented these wide receivers are, it's going to happen. I would just like to see him play a little bit better. That's it. I'm not trying to say that he's a complete bust, that he's a bomb. Dante Jackson, I like his game a lot as well. They made the trade to get him for the Panthers when they traded Deontay Johnson. When I look at Micah Fitzpatrick, hasn't been that playmaking safety this season, but he's been very good. He's been canceling out the middle of the field when they play that cover one. I would like the Steelers to go out there and play more cover one because they give up a lot of yardage when they go to that cover two package. And this is a Steelers team. They play a lot of man-to-man. Their zone packages are a bit ineffective, in my opinion, because we've seen this in the past. Aaron Rodgers was moving up and down the field early in the first half. Quick passes on and off, quick passes on and off. And we saw the same thing with Daniel Jones as well. So this defense is vulnerable to that. Part of the reason why they're vulnerable to those quick passes is because Patrick Queen can't tackle. And now this is one player that has been one of the best, that has been one of the worst players on this defense as a starter. Had a very good game against the Las Vegas Raiders. And he has performed better over the last couple of weeks. But for this entire season, based off a consistent level, he hasn't been good. And they paid him top linebacker money. He misses a lot of tackles, and he looks confused on the field at times. Lucky for him, they have a Landon Roberts, they have Peyton Wilson. Patrick Queen has to play better. And this is a player in the past that had a lot of struggles before Roquan Smith came into the fold with the Baltimore Ravens. Right now, I do not like his game. This is a negative. Now, you can say that it's just me and I'm being too harsh on Patrick Queen, but I've seen him give up big plays across the middle of the field. I've seen him look confused. Are there plays where he will blow up run plays? Sure, but it just needs to be more consistent. He seems like he's a rookie right now, more so than a veteran, and that's not a good sign for the Steelers moving forward. But they have a Landon Roberts who's been crazy in the red zone area, and the same with Peyton Wilson as well. They're backing him up, but they're going to need Patrick Queen to go out there and to be the top dog, especially when you go against teams like the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. But the rest of the defense, I like the pieces that they have. Nick Herbig is expected to come back after the bye week. He's a very good rotational pass rusher. He's not going to go out there and be T.J. Watt. He's not going to be Alex Highsmith, but he can give those guys a breather. The next thing you know, he comes off the edge. He's a spark plug. We've seen this in the past. We saw what he was able to do in games that Alex Highsmith missed. He was very effective. He was able to go out there and put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. He can stop the run as well. I like what the Steelers have. And you have Cameron Hayward as well, who is a top defensive tackle in the NFL in terms of stopping the run. He's not the same pass rusher that he once was, and he's never going to be that pass rusher because he's getting older and he's taking a step back. But he's still an elite player at stopping the run, especially when TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith are both there. And they have Keanu Benton as well. So when Cameron Hayward does walk away from the game, you have Keanu Benton, who has looked very good with the snaps that he's been given this season and from last season as well. This is still a young player. But like I mentioned, with that being said, I like the Steelers. You could say that they faced a lot of low-level competition. So is every other team in this division. You can't help who you play. Their true gauntlet does start after this bye week. You give Russell Wilson some more time. You let this offensive line heal up. Hopefully they make a move to go out there and get another wide receiver. I think that they can compete with the Baltimore Ravens. Every single team in the NFL has a weakness, but especially teams in this division. You look at the Bengals. Right now, they're having a tough time stopping people with their defense. You look at the Baltimore Ravens. Their defense has taken a complete 180 from last season. The Cleveland Browns, you may call me crazy. That may be their toughest competition in this division because you look at how the Browns are set up. They're set up to stop the run, and they're set up to put a lot of pressure on opposing wide receivers. But this is the upside. Tight ends can go out there and they can give them a lot of problems. And lucky enough for the Steelers, they have a tight end in Big Pat. Just like how I said, the Steelers may go out there and they may struggle to stop the Baltimore Ravens, not their run game per se, but their wide receivers because they're secondary. But I think that they can put enough pressure on Lamar Jackson. And let's just be honest here as well. When the Ravens have played with Lamar Jackson against the Steelers have won those games. And the Steelers have the better winning percentage out of those matchups. So we'll see what happens. With that being said, I think the Steelers will win this division. I think they're the most complete team, and I think they'll make the NFL playoffs with Russell Wilson. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about the Steelers' chances to make the NFL playoffs, and how do you feel about them this season so far? They're 6-2. Their only losses were against the Dallas Cowboys where they could not score. And remember in that game, Dak Prescott had a fumble, 2 interceptions. Justin Fields could not put the ball in the red zone, something that Russell Wilson has been able to do over the last couple of weeks. And they lost against the Indianapolis Colts in terrible fashion because you look at their secondary. It let them down. They had Joe Flacco. The defense was unprepared. But if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.